Hello, tabletop wargamers, and welcome to Tried and True, a podcast hosted by the Delaware Warmachine community. Join us as we dive deep into topics around our favorite games, exploring methods and techniques proven to enhance anyone's gaming experience. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 6th episode of Tried and True. I'm your host, Paul.
And I'm Erica.
Yeah, it's been a while. Took a bit of a hiatus.
You've been missed, brother.
I know. My daughter was born. It's been over 2 weeks right now, so it's been great. I am on cloud 9 now. I'm so happy. I've never known I could love something as much as her. So it's been great.
Lily's an amazing baby, and Vicky's been an amazing mommy. So you guys are doing good things.
Thanks. We just want to kind of take a moment and kind of like give some, insight of what's been happening lately. The other night, Eric and Dan were on Warjacks, so it was really cool that, I got to go do that episode.
Yeah, those guys are awesome. Yeah, those guys were amazing. It was so great to be on their show. So thanks again for the opportunity to come on.
Yeah, Craig, Sean, and Brandon are awesome people. Craig was really cool and changing up who was going to be on the episode. I had to bow out like last minute, and he was understanding and responsive. It was great. It was awesome. I ended up leaving the Escalation League, but you were able to go and finish that one up. So all the players, I guess, had a good time with that.
Yeah, we finished the league strong all 9 weeks. I think in person, our last night, we had 14 players at the store. It was great. We had prizes, special badges for everyone. Yeah, it was a great time. We got some really good feedback. I think also from talking with the Warjacks guys and Dan, I think I'm going to work on publishing the Escalation League home rule document, and we're going to post that online in case anybody else is interested and wants to run their own league similar to what we did.
It's really cool where you have these different YouTube or these different groups that there are these community leaders or content creators that are creating stuff. So, hopefully people can pick it up and it'll work out and it'll be great. How's your free time with doing those battle reports?
It's a lot of fun, actually. It's very relaxing for me. Like you said, it's when you're doing the podcast, it doesn't feel like work. It just feels like an extension of the hobby. And for me, video editing and audio editing's always been something I enjoyed when I was in school many moons ago. So for me, it's relaxing, it's cathartic. I can get it's my creative outlet, and I'm having so much fun with everybody coming over. Pete's hysterical. A shout out.
Just listening to his comments, I was just cracking up. I'm like,
oh my god, yeah. The battle reports, I think ours are gonna have a little extra charm in them. That we got surprises in each episode, so stay tuned.
Yeah, and then I guess with our own local community, it's been great. Since I've taken a step back, Erica's been doing all the Discord stuff. I'll do the Facebook events, but we had another player, Andy. He ended up picking up the order forms. It was great. He created this document and just been helping me out and stuff.
Yeah, that spreadsheet's legit. So thanks, Andy, for taking the initiative and doing that for us. That's been huge.
Yeah, so I guess where we're at now is, we were talking internally about doing another series. And do you want to go talk about the Susquehanna Scuffle?
Yeah, so for those that don't know, I've been talking to Sam with our Maryland crew, our Maryland fam, and we're going to have ourselves a Susquehanna Scuffle. We're looking to schedule, it's going to be a team event, kind of a fun store showdown, sometime in September. So we're still figuring out the details before we put that out. Yeah, I'm super excited. Maryland guys seem like they're on board. I think PA is trying to throw down too, get a team involved. So yeah, more to follow, but I think it's going to be a thing.
Might be able to get a Maplewood team in there too.
Yeah.
That's actually getting us to our next series. And I think it was kind of only right of how to plan and execute your first large event. When I think about a really great event, this is the standard that I want to get to at some point, if we build it up. I think back to the Bokur Brawl.
Oh yeah, hands down Bokur Brawl. That's an amazing time.
It was just so great, and Seth was awesome, and I think it would be neat if we could kind of get some insight from Seth, and be able to see how he actually made the Bokur Brawl happen, and then maybe kind of get an idea on how we could maybe start the Susquehanna Scuffle and I don't know, maybe make it into a bigger event at some point in the future.
Yeah, so funny you should mention Seth. He is actually joining us on this episode.
Say hi, Seth.
Well, hello, everybody. Hi.
Yeah, so without further ado, here's Seth from the New Jersey SOB meta and co-creator of Bokur Brawl.
Yep. Steve Rabideau is my partner in crime in the Bokur Brawl. You know, Paul, you don't say Maplewood, you just say NJSOBs. That's our store, right? So.
I have to say the letters. I can't actually say it out.
And then, you know, tragically, the home store in Somerville actually closed this past year. You know, they could not survive the pandemic, and they could not survive one of the owners. So, you know, is what it is. So now we are based in Maplewood, and Maplewood's a great store. We played there, you know, a lot. So it was really easy just to move everything over there. So if you're in the Maplewood area, we play Sunday afternoons. We usually get started around 1 o'clock. Guaranteed to find 4 to 6 people playing on any given Sunday. Of course, this Sunday we'll be at the Battle Bunker. Grant Ritchie's running an event there in Philadelphia, so we're going to go there to play in a tournament. And, you know, Paul, I have to correct you. This is your 6th episode, but it is your first Sethisode.
Sure. Well, hey, good luck in the competition this weekend. And thank you so much for sharing your time with us.
Oh, my pleasure. You know, one of my goals this year was to not necessarily judge less, but to play more. So I'm excited to actually go and play games on Sunday. And yeah, it should be a good time. And, you know, if I win one game, it's because somebody wasn't paying attention.
What army are you running nowadays?
So I've narrowed it down to I'm playing Khador and I am playing minions right now.
Yes. Great choices.
Thank you. The problem is my lists that I want to run aren't completely built or painted, and I hate putting things on the table at a tournament that are not painted. So I may just run some other list just so I can participate. I also have, I've been playing around with the Khador Stalingrad list. You know, it's...
oh, God, you and Dan should talk.
Yeah, well...
I hate that list so much.
I'm not sure if that list is for me, I'll be honest. I want to get 10 games in with it before I make any changes or, you know, make some decisions. I really do love the Assault Commandos, but...
Oh, they're so good right now.
Yeah.
They are so hot right now.
But,
it's funny because they're immune to fire.
Yeah. So they don't mind being hot is really what it comes down to. Or poisoned, right? They're good with all that stuff. So we'll see what happens on Sunday, but I just want to be there. I want to play games, and I'm excited about it. So I started playing, as I mentioned, the NJSOB original store was in Somerville, New Jersey. I guess I started playing a year after the game was released. And what had happened was I'd gone to... I'm your very typical disgruntled GW player. I'd gone to the grand tournament in Maryland, and I had just a miserable time. I won all of my games, somehow came in middle of the pack in the standings. I didn't have fun. I went with a guy named Jeremy Miller. Jeremy Miller's stepdad is Michael Stubbs. You might recognize his name. He was a very big organizer back in the day. And we the next weekend, we get back from this grand tournament, and Stubbs says, "Hey, I found this new game. Now let's all try it out." Of course, it was Warmachine, and a group of us, he had found a group just starting to play in Somerville, and you know, I was originally not so enthralled with the game. I did not love the fluff. I'm a fluff guy, right? I love my themes. I didn't love the faction identities, so I started out playing Mercenaries, because I figured that kind of fit the way I was feeling about it. But I really loved the mechanics of the game. I loved the way the game played. I loved the people that I was gaming with. And what I discovered was that, you know, I would go to steamrollers around the area. There weren't a ton of them right at the beginning. You had to kind of really make connections with folks. And every event that I went to, more often than not, I was just meeting really super cool people, fun people to play games against. And that's what hooked me, you know, into the game and into the community. My kids were born not long after that. And, you know, I played as I could. Right, you don't have the same kind of time as the non-married guys and the guys who don't have families to you know, play games. And then you get to a point where the guys who've been organizing for a really long time, Norbert Brunhuber, who was another giant of a press ganger, he moved to England. So, you know, there went his organizing, and Stubbs stepped away from the game, and we had Mike Welcome for a while, who did a fantastic job. And, you know, someone else needed to step up. And I was like, well, I'm really bad at the game. So rather than simply take up the bottom third of the rankings in any tournament I go to, I'm gonna help organize. I'm gonna, you know, keep the club going, and that kind of brought me to where we are now. Yeah, I guess that's the whole background on. At one point, I was in somewhere in the middle of second edition. I was pretty good at the game. I could reliably come in the top 5 of a 16 to 24 person tournament. But that didn't last long. So
Did you find that like your priorities like changed? It just, you didn't care about being the best player. You just cared more about your place in the community.
I never wanted to be the best player. I never had those kinds of aspirations. I just didn't want someone to put their army down on this table and say, okay, I'm going to beat you on top of 2 and then we'll go get lunch. And that happened. So I just wanted to be competitive. I wanted someone to actually have to think and put in an effort to win their game. I didn't want it to be a walkover. And I wanted to feel like I was making good moves. That was my goal for playing. And then, I think Warmachine, more than other miniature games, because it is very close to balance. I mean, it's not chess, right? We roll dice and there are figures that are more powerful than other figures, right? But because it is so very close to being balanced, there's a practice element. There's so many phases of this game. Are you managing your clock? Are you managing your scenario? Are you managing the pace of the game? Or, do you need to get that super alpha, or do you have to survive the other person's alpha? So this game requires a lot of practice. And I kind of reached this point where I'm like, okay, I can play 2 games a week in one night, right? I can go out to, Thursday night used to be our game night at Somerville. Now it's Sunday afternoons. I can hang out for 2 games. I can play 2 games. And what can I do in 2 games to be the best player I can be? And that's kind of how I approached it.
Nice.
I really like that.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to look at it. So as we're going into this, for our listeners who might not be familiar of what the Bokur Brawl is, could you just give a quick, summary of what the brawl is?
Sure. Love to. Yeah, the Bokur Brawl is the NJSOB's annual convention. We run it in October. It features a big base brawl. That's where the top half, 16 of 32 participants, walk away with a huge base model. We run a Warfare Weekend qualifier. We also have a 5-person team event. That's sort of our marquee event of the weekend. Yeah, and we have Mompok tournaments happening all that weekend. This past year we had Warcaster happening all weekend long. And, it's funny, we started saying, hey, people really love team events, right? And there used to be the Mid-Atlantic team tournament and the New England team tournament. And I don't want to say those things stopped, but the New England team tournament had moved to Captain Con or Temple Con. The Mid-Atlantic team tournament had kind of fallen by the wayside, and we didn't have the, let's call it ownership, to say, well, we're just going to start running this again. Someone actually owns the Mid-Atlantic team tournament, so I can't just, say we're doing that. We said, we need to run a team event for our group. We said, all right, it's going to be a 3-person team event because, we feel fairly confident we can do that. And we filled up, right, with all those people, and we crammed into a little moose lodge in Flemington, where I live. And it was a great time. We just had a wonderful time. We had people from Canada show up. We had guys from upstate New York show up. We had guys from down south. We just had a great time. And after we did that once, we said, we got to go bigger. I think 5-person events, I think it was Steve Rabideau had said, I think 3-person events are kind of being phased out, and 5-person events are the wave of the future. We can't do a 5-person event at the Moose Lodge here in Flemington, so we had to look for a larger venue and, and really start planning.
That's right. So no breaks on this train, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, sorry, real fast. So when you first designed the Bokur Brawl, did you go in it as it was going to be a huge event, or was it just a Warfare Weekend qualifier or the team event?
The first one was we just ran a team event, and I think we ran it in one day. We wanted it. We were gauging interest, right? Are people going to travel? Are people going to come out? Will they support this idea? We were very concerned about timing, right? We were very concerned about, 5 rounds. It's a long day. We can't be lackadaisical about our rounds. We have to, we really have to move. So we started thinking, well, how do we keep the day moving, right? Well, the Moose Lodge had a kitchen. So we, prepared them. We said, okay, everyone can order food from this kitchen at this time, and they'll make sure to get it done. And we thought, okay, how are we moving people from one place to another? Because, we're packed tuchus to tuchus in this place. How are we going to move everybody around? Do we have tables set up for people to put their things down on? Even things like, back in the old days, you walked up to the organizer, turned in your sheets, and they handed you scenario elements for the next scenario. We're like, that's going to cause a lot of unnecessary movement around the room that we don't have a lot of room in. So we, I think the first year we had pizza boxes, and we put pizza boxes under each table, and in each pizza box were flags and zones and scenarios, etc.
That's clever.
Yeah, well, that eventually became the plastic bags, right? That we just kind of throw out on every table. And it's funny because it's very much like teaching in a way. I started my teaching career. I was in a kindergarten classroom, believe it or not. I didn't stay there long, but that's where I started my teaching career. And when you teach kindergartners, it is very much planning the physical space. How are the kids going to move? Where are they going to move? Do they have everything they need to complete the task, the learning task you're giving them?
Seth, I'm a high school teacher. It's not any different.
There you go. So, hey, someone's walking into the room. Where are they putting their coats? Where are they putting their backpack? Where are their books? Where can they, is there a place for them to plug in their Chromebooks if they've run out of power? Like all those little things you have to think about when you're planning an event. So when we moved to the VFW, it's 8,000 square feet. It's a good sized place, but we're packing it with people. We're packing it with 150 people. We have to plan for rooms. We decided that nobody likes events where you're tuchus to tuchus. We want people to be able to move around. So we planned our tables in a way so instead of jamming 5 together, we do 3 and 2 so folks can kind of move around, right? And then we set up tables where people could put their army trays down for a minute. We bought plastic shelving and put it up behind the stage and said, hey, go put your bags over there on the shelves. And then eventually it was, well, hey, again, we have to worry about this timing. This year, the Bokur Brawl is 24 hours.
Oh, yeah.
The hall opens Friday morning. It doesn't close till Sunday afternoon. But our first couple years, there was a hard time limit. The bartender would get bored and say, I want to go home, get out of here, right? So we were very concerned that things should run on time. So we really had to account for a lot of that stuff. And we said, well, look, just down the block are all sorts of restaurants and things. But if we send people out to eat, there'll be 2 hours before they come back. So we started providing lunch and dinner for everybody. And then we found that everyone wanted lunch, but everyone wanted to go out for dinner. So now we only provide lunch because everyone else went out to dinner and I was, wasting a significant amount of money on food that wasn't getting eaten. That's the other thing. This is a significant financial investment to run something like this. You have to be prepared to lose money for a long time. And I'll tell you when we start making money because it hasn't happened yet.
I was about to say, have you started making
money?
No,
we just lose less.
That's still winning.
Yeah. So, this past year, we did okay because we had a bit fewer people because of the pandemic. We had around 110 people. We were usually running between 130 and 150. So that means we didn't have to go out and buy any new materials. We didn't need table toppers. We needed fewer giveaway things. We love to give away swag. We think that if you go to an event, you should just be loaded down with stuff when you go home. That was really important to me, and Steve absolutely supported it. We decided it was going to be one of the things that distinguished us from other events, right? You go to the Bokur Brawl.
That was the Bokur Bounty system, right?
Yes, the Bokur Bounty system.
Oh my gosh. Look, for those that's listening, if you're achievement hunters, this is right up your alley. Like, it was amazing.
It's a really cool, it was actually Seth that helped inspire me for some of the escalation, like bonus rules that we had.
Excellent. Love to hear that.
So yeah, I was definitely copying your homework a little bit on that, but.
It's all right. He's a teacher. He's used to it.
Yeah, no, all good. Hey, a rising tide raises all ships, friends. So if I did something that you think is cool and you take it, outstanding. And truthfully, it's more than just about the Bokur Bounty system. So you come in and everyone gets 2 flags and an objective, right? That's just what you get for walking in the door. And you get some kind of measurement widget and you get a set of dice. And this year we gave away a beer koozie. So even before you put your army down and start playing, you got a handful of stuff, right? Because we think that's important. And then, Friday, the big base brawl, half the field's walking away with a huge base model, right? We can't do the same thing for the Warfare Weekend qualifier. But any game that you play, I really hated when you would spend an entire day playing in a tournament and, you're middle of the pack, you come out with nothing, right? The last place guy got something, the first 3 places got something, you're walking away with nothing except experience and fun. So every game that somebody plays, win or lose, they have the opportunity to win something. And some achievements that we list out are very difficult to get. I think one of them, the difficult one, I should have looked this up, I apologize. It's something like, score all the scenario elements in 1 turn, kill the caster on top of 2 or by the end of turn 2, something like that. And then we would have things like signed posters from Privateer Press or, really hard to find beer mugs. Or this year we had I've happened to get a hold of a whole set of Gale Force 9 dice, which used to be all the rage and you can't get them anymore. They're out of print. We had a bunch of those to give away in tier number 1. And then you have the larger items, unit boxes and jacks, your more expensive models in tier 2, and then tier 3, lots of blisters, and tier 4 is dice and widgets and all sorts of just fun stuff. So even if you just lost your game, that's one of the achievements. I lost my game. I'm going to go take something from tier 4.
Are you able to provide insight on like how you accumulated all that stuff? Did you have to know somebody?
No. No. As a matter of fact, I will admit to having a bit of a problem. I will go through Miniature Market website constantly, Cool Stuff Inc., all the online retailers, and as soon as they've got something on sale, I buy it. You know, someone puts up on Facebook Marketplace or you know, any of the trading groups, hey, I've got all this really super cool new in-box stuff I'm looking to sell. Like, we jump on that stuff. And that's how we get this product. And we're actually fairly well set for next year, to the point where Steve Rabideau's like, I forbid you from buying anything else, because I would like send him little messages. Oh, I just purchased this. He'd be like, please stop. Please stop doing that. So that's how you accumulate all this stuff. And then I would say in the last 2 years, because people are so appreciative of what we do and the effort that we put in, folks will show up at the Brawl and say, hey, we have these 6 boxes of whatever that nobody in our area wants, and we're just giving them to you to give away to people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that. I even feel a little guilty. And yeah, so that's how we amass all the prizes. We do not do this for the team event on Saturday, though, because like we said, that's our marquee event, right? That's our 5-person World Team Championship format event. And we want people genuinely playing, or, you know, all of their games, not doing something where they're saying, oh, well, you know, my team's already won their 3, so how about we engineer between us ways to get achievements? So we
you're keeping it clean.
Yeah. So now for the other game systems, we try to have more giveaways as well, because there simply isn't as much product to amass to give away. You know, if you think about a Warcaster player, what am I going to give them that they don't already have, right? Or a Monpok player,
Sure.
right? So we always try to come up with really cool giveaway stuff, so they feel like they're getting, you know, more than just. Right. So I think one year I planned to, they'd had the mini Gorgadra as a mini crate model one month. And I got a hold of 3 of those. And I figured for the 3 events, first place person gets to walk away with that model.
Yeah, that's a cool prize for sure.
Are there any other games? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, Bokur Brawl is only Privateer Press games, correct?
Yes, but certainly we've been approached by other folks. Like one time, my good friend Tom Hoffman, who used to be a very big deal in the Warmachine community, wanted to run a Blood Bowl event. Hey, we're running Blood Bowl, no problem. And then some people have approached me about seeing if we can do a Marvel Crisis Protocol event. I'm certainly not. If I've got the space, I'm happy to have people play games. You know, it's really what it comes down to. Gamers are great people. Love to have them.
But I guess, like, would that be in your wheelhouse, though? Like, are you familiar with Blood Bowl? Are you familiar with MCP to be able to run those events? Or would you try to look for other people to take the lead on that?
Well, Blood Bowl I've been playing for a very long time. It's the last GW game I still play. But certainly Marvel Crisis Protocol, I'd have to bring someone else in to run that event. And truthfully, Warcaster, even though I play Warcaster, other folks were really generous and willing to take the lead, you know, because they're really invested in the game, where I was playing it because I thought the game was neat.
So with the Bokur Brawl, you know, you said that you had to move locations because it got so big. Why did you end up settling where the location that you
Well,
picked?
it's interesting. We're in this kind of weird spot. We're too big for a casual catering hall around your town, but we're too small for the hotels. The hotel is a huge risk and investment. Essentially what happens when you book the hotel is they say, okay, you want all of these rooms and all this space? It's $25,000 for the weekend. And if whatever your group does not make up for in room sales and liquor sales and food sales, you owe us in cash.
Yeah, that can get real pricey real quick.
I would hard dodge that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then this year, I found a hotel that said, hey, we'll take a chance on you. And I booked them, and I was getting really close to being able to announce, here's the hotel. But it had to be just a couple weeks before I was ready to make the announcement. The guy contacts me and says, hey, we had someone who was willing to pay more money, take your weekend. I'm like, dude, we had a contract. And he's like, yeah, and in your contract it says, because we were giving you a cut rate, if someone came along with more money, they were getting the space. So, yeah, we're still keeping our eye out to get ourselves to a hotel. If we move to a hotel, we definitely have to take on other game systems, which, again, I'm happy to do. But, yeah, it's difficult. We're going to keep doing what we do and grow as we grow. And I think being open 24/7 this year is going to be a big help.
Dude, it's going to be wild.
Yeah. I have to say that one of the unexpected joys, is that the right phrase? One of the unexpected things about the Bokur Brawl is, gosh, these guys party really hard all weekend long. And I've never been a super hard partier. I tried to rebel once as a kid, but my mom wouldn't let me. So, you know,
It's okay. I also used to shop at Hot Topic because I was an individual when I was in high school.
So at one point we were at a hotel in Somerset, and the guys partied so hard that they wouldn't take us back, and I had to find a new hotel. Yeah, so 24/7, that means those guys aren't going to leave the VFW, or they do. It's going to be at very early hours in the morning. So I'm trying to find some company that is willing to run a shuttle for me to and from the venue overnight.
Oh, yeah, that would be good for safety because the bar is not going to be 24/7, right?
No, in New Jersey, the bar has to close at 2 a.m.
Oh, just 2 a.m. Okay.
Yeah, only 2 a.m.
Only 2 a.m.
Yeah, but that's not going to stop any of these guys. Yeah, the first year we were in the VFW, we get started at 8 o'clock, and a couple of guys walked over like, the bar's not open yet. It's 8:30 in the morning. Like, oh, it's okay. We got stuff in the car. Like, okay.
Why are you complaining?
So, yeah. So yeah, we have our eye on the future. We would love to get ourselves to a place where you can just walk downstairs from your room and play games. We're just not there yet, but we'll get there.
So can I ask, from going from Moose Lodge to the VFW to eventually hotel, was this all the New Jersey effort?
So the first year we had help from just everybody. I had people show up with tables. I had people show up with all sorts of stuff. I had to keep a giant spreadsheet of everything that I borrowed from everybody to run that event. And it was so difficult, despite everyone's generosity, that I said, I cannot do this again, right? If we're going to run it, it has to be just us. So Steve and I have been running it ourselves ever since.
How many years was that?
Oh gosh, I think we're in year 5 or 6.
Ooh.
But I'll tell you the truth, we get so tired, so exhausted. And I shouldn't say we don't take any help at all, because Arthur Cottinelli has been a lot of the man behind the scenes when it comes to the food, and he's a great sounding board. And truthfully, all the NJSOBs, like we rely on our club to, get ideas and test things out. And Steve King, NJSOB, he helped us judge this year because we finally realized that we just can't keep doing it just ourselves. So just having another guy on the floor to be a judge was amazing. It was such a help to us. And running it, it's Steve and I, but certainly, yeah, the local club definitely helps make it happen. Grant, Richie, and a couple of the South Jersey guys all stuck around on Sunday to help load the wood into the truck. And just that was amazing. Derek Sandstrom, he had let us use his pickup truck for the weekend, and just amazing. All the little things that people do. So one of the things we like to do at the Brawl, we have mints at the front of the room because, breath.
Oh, you got the good mints too. It's the wintergreen, by the way. Like that makes all the difference.
It's all that beer breath.
Yeah, and then, we put up coolers of water because we want people to be hydrated. We've got all sorts of little stuff like that, to make folks more comfortable. Well, I had guys who were walking around the hall saying, oh, Seth, the water cooler's a little low, so we're just going to go refill it. Like, just something like that helps me out so much, and people were doing it left and right. It was amazing.
That's one thing I will say that I've noticed about the Warmachine community, because I used to play, well, I still play some GW games, but the community in this game has always been very warm and welcoming. I've yet to have a negative experience with our players.
Pete Soretti used to say that Warmachine for him was a 3-legged stool. It was the community, it was the hobby, and it was the game. And once one of those 3 legs broke, he was done. I feel very similarly. The community is amazing. I really do enjoy the game, and I love painting the models. So, any of those 3 things changes, maybe I'll have to make some changes, but I don't see it happening. So
what do you think sets the Bokur Brawl apart from other big Warmachine events or other big wargaming conventions?
Well, I don't know if big truly describes us. I really do feel like we're still an underdog. We're wedged in between the WTC and Warfare Weekend, and I'm not sure that's actually the best place for us moving forward, but at this point we can't make any kind of move. As I talked about the prizing, I think what sets us apart is we are really truly focused on the player experience. Right? That's our goal. It's the player experience. We want everyone to have a fantastic time. And if they're not having a fantastic time, we want to know if there's something that we did to make that so, right?
Right. That's kind of similar to, with Paul building up or starting the Delaware Warmachine community. When Paul, Andy, Dan, and I got together, that was kind of our forefront, was we always wanted to put our players first.
Yep.
Before the game.
Yes.
It's just amazing how much of a different atmosphere it does, and it's amazing, I guess, how it's even amplified at a convention, even an underdog one. It's amazing just how everybody just wants to have a good time and everybody wants to see it succeed.
Yeah, like your guys' event, Seth, like we talked to, Paul and I talked to some players who play nationally who come out from like the West Coast, and the Bokur Brawl is the one that they talk about.
Oh, that's nice. I'll tell you, if you look around the Bokur Brawl, look around at the people, you see folks who would have never spoken to each other otherwise.
I mean, one guy was wearing a I think, a bacon costume that one day.
And math checks out.
Probably. That sounds about right. Yeah. Just folks who would not normally be friends, right? Have these enduring, strong friendships with all sorts of people. My hobbies are very important to me. And I'm very grateful to still be able and it's going to sound strange, at my age to be engaged with this community like this. I mean, because let's face it, I'm 50 years old. And most of the folks who are playing are not in their 50s. They're in their 20s or in their 30s. So it's really nice to be able to engage with this whole group and not have it feel weird or strange or.
I mean, I've even seen that here in Delaware because we have one of our players who's a teenager in high school, and we have people as late in like their 50s as well, and we just see them as members of the community, and it's great.
Yeah, there's no real like age stigma or anything like that. You're a player, you're a cool person. All right, you're in.
Yes. Yeah. That's exactly it. Right. And truthfully, if you're a cool person, you don't even have to play that much.
True.
Hey, Seth, I wanted to ask you something. You said that you said Bokur Brawl's been running for 6 years, right?
Around there. I could have the dates wrong, but yes.
Was there like a really hard lesson that you had to learn the hard way running all these events that you're like, we cannot let that happen ever again?
Okay, so hard lesson number one, it was our first year in the VFW, and we paired everybody up for the Warfare Weekend qualifier, and I believe that Schwanke and Dan Riker were paired against each other, and they had taken a 4-hour car ride together. Round one is the only round that you have the ability to pair people and mix up metas and get folks to play people they would not normally play, and we blew it. And I looked at the two of them. I said, "Guys, stop everything. I'll go re-rack." They're like, "Nope, it's fine." Just pointing out that this happened, and it never happened again after that, at least to my knowledge. That was a hard lesson. I was glad that they were so super cool about it. Next lesson I learned is I would really agonize over the prizing, and I don't mean like we already talked about the Bokur bounty system, but I mean like, what do you give the people who take first, second, and third place? What are you going to give them that they don't own, that they don't already have? So one year we did flasks, right? We engraved flasks, and I heard from some folks, what am I going to do with this? I would have rather had a trophy.
Y'all are crazy. You can't put stuff in a trophy.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to be critical. My point is just this. You develop something cool, and some people are going to gravitate toward it. Some people are not going to gravitate toward it. You can't give a prize out to 15 people for an event and then expect every one of them to look at you and say, "This is amazing, thank you."
Yeah, you kind of like doing that. I feel like it kind of removes some of what makes the competitive nature of this for your top placers. It kind of invalidates their, not like their accomplishment, but maybe like the prize makes it less special.
If everybody gets a trophy, like, what are you actually getting out of it?
Yeah.
So that was a lesson that we learned. The other one was, I'm not a businessman by nature, right? I work in education. I felt very uncomfortable looking at people and saying, "I'm sorry, I can't give you a refund." I'd feel terrible. I was mailing people things. "Oh, here's your swag. You couldn't come." And, I'm not sorry I did that. But at the same time, I operate this thing at a loss. I'm literally paying money out of pocket so you can come and hang out for the weekend, right? If you say in June, "Oh, I'm buying these tickets," and well, that means other people who would have planned to come out are not coming because there aren't enough tickets, right? Because the events do have limits. And it took a while for me to learn that it's okay to say to someone, "Hey, sorry, you bought the ticket." Now there are always exceptions. People have crazy things happen, crises, and you have to be mindful of all of that. But I just mean in general. You can't be afraid to say to folks, "Look, it's going to cost me $100 a person for a weekend ticket. I'm really sorry that's expensive, but look at all this stuff we're providing. That's our give back. And if it's an issue, don't buy a ticket because, I got to stop losing money like this."
Yeah, of course. So when you were talking earlier about scheduling the brawl in October because of other big events, like how do you manage that? Do you reach out to those other coordinators?
Well, I'll be honest, we tried, right? At the beginning, we had reached out to some folks in the Midwest because they had run a big event in October, and we reached down south because they were trying to run an event in October. We said, "Hey, there's plenty of time in the month for all of us. Why don't we try to coordinate?" And they weren't interested. They're like, "We're just going to run our events when we're going to run them." At the time that we formed this thing, you could pretty much pick a month and pick an event that all the Warmachine people were going to go to, right? February, there was nothing in January, but at the very end of January, first week in February was TempleCon / CaptainCon or the LVO, right? And then March, I want to say Adepticon, and then April. We could go through the months. You could just pick it all out. It's very hard finding the right time to run your event. So October was the only month that something else big wasn't running. And, you can't do it in November, December. That's holiday season. And plus, Warfare Weekend, November anyway. So that's how we wound up on October.
So on the subject of other conventions, do you have a favorite convention outside of the Bokur Brawl that gets you the most pumped up?
I don't, only because I don't get to travel a whole heck of a lot. I'm going to the WTC this year for the first time.
You are?
He's going to Belgium?
Yeah, I'm going as a judge.
Dude, congratulations.
Dude.
Yeah, very excited.
Yeah.
I would like to get to Warfare Weekend one day. It's funny, you asked me that question about do you talk to other organizers, and I feel remiss, and hopefully Gonzo doesn't listen to this podcast. I talk to Gonzo like twice a month, and we talk all the time about how to run our events better. And we have formed this really amazing friendship, and we have never met in person, and all we do is talk about how to run events and of course, other life stuff, like what happens when you form a friendship with somebody.
Now, I was just going to go say real fast, just to piggyback off that, I talked to Gonzo a little bit.
Yep.
Because when we're talking about the Susquehanna Scuffle, I was wondering, like, if we wanted to make it a Warfare Weekend qualifier. And, I just kind of reached out, like, how hard is this to go and do? And the Gonzo's awesome. Like, he's super friendly guy.
Yeah, amazing. And he also believes in the rising tide that raises all ships. So that's very helpful. So I really only get to go to Captain Con / Temple Con. Now that I am a floor judge every year at Captain Con, I still get excited to go and hang out with everybody, etc. But it's a much more exhausting weekend, believe it or not. And this year I was thinking about heading down to, I think it's Tennessee. The Minority Report guys run an event. I'd like to see if I can get down there in the first weekend in August. I can never go to Nova because Nova runs the first weekend that my school year starts. So I get 2 days of teachers and the kids start school, and then I'm supposed to go away for a weekend and, not pretend I'm massively exhausted and hungover that Monday. That's not happening.
Yeah, we're actually going. We have a team that's going to Nova for the first time this year. Paul, Paul's part of that team.
My students won't be able to know.
Nice.
Yeah, we're in like old school convention in the hotel
yes.
room. Like we're talking about people sleeping on the floor, the bathtub. Like I'm pretty excited, pretty hyped.
Yeah, that's right. It should probably be a great time for you guys. I always tell my wife that, because again, I am of the age that we start talking about, I'm on the 11-year countdown till retirement. And I'm like, I hope all these cons are there in 11 years because I'm going to all of them first.
Oh, I'm sure. It's actually kind of fun. A little bit of a sidebar. So MagFest is one of my favorite conventions. It's a music and gaming festival in DC. And it's so different. I think I'm actually enjoying the convention more as I'm a little bit older than when I was younger.
Cool.
Yeah, because you just kind of like sit back and look at people. I'm not, probably because I'm not hungover as much. Maybe that's why I'm having a more positive experience with it. It's different, but I will say that I am enjoying some of these conventions I used to go to when I was younger.
Did the Army teach you to drink, or did you have to learn on your own?
Dude, I can't do that anymore. Like hangovers now, I'm at that age. It's like 72 hours. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Like I would have to have like an ongoing like drinking session just not to.
The fun is completely void at this point.
Like there's certain foods I eat now that make me feel like I'm hungover. So things to look forward to in your 30s, everybody.
Yeah, tell me, infant. Sounds terrible.
So I wanted to ask you, is that because of all the Bokur Brawls that you've had, has there been a top moment or maybe even top 3, like my favorite memories of Bokur Brawl, where we're sitting around the bar and this is the story that Seth tells?
So 1 and 2 are kind of dovetailed in the same event. So I told you that we got kicked out of one of the hotels, right? So this hotel had a Hooters restaurant attached to it. And Saturday night, after the first 3 rounds of the 5-person team event, everyone went to the Hooters, everybody. And they were drinking hard before they left the VFW, and they were drinking hard when they got to the Hooters. And it was crazy. I was watching guys dance with waitresses, and I know that they were married, right? And it got really crazy. It got really, really crazy. It was so much fun. And I finally, I think it was maybe 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I got to get back to my room. And I had to extricate myself from the place. Well, then the next morning we go to the hall and nobody's there. We're supposed to start at 9:30 and nobody's there. And then my phone starts blowing up and my Facebook starts blowing up and they're like, oh, we're heading over, we're hungover. Some guy shows up in an Uber and like opens the door and vomits all over the floor.
That's what's up. He had a good time.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Some old school partying.
He's probably over 30.
So then it was like it's getting close to 10 o'clock, and I'm like, we have to delay the start of the tournament because none of the teams are here. Well, at that point, Marc-Andre LeBlanc and his Canadian team come walking in, and not only are they clearly not hungover, they're clearly showered, and they come walking in, they're bright-eyed, their heads are clear.
They coming in fresh.
They looked like they smelled good, and when I got closer, they did smell good. Like these guys were prepared, and of course they won the whole thing that year. And it was like those boys came to play. Everybody else went and had fun, and they're like, nope, we did our homework and went to bed early. And
they remained disciplined, stone cold discipline.
I wonder if they had a spreadsheet.
Yeah, way to go, Canada.
Yes. Yeah, so those are my top two favorite moments. But number 3 would have to be literally every time I'm listening to a podcast and someone says something really great about the Bokur Brawl. John Leclerc, who's the organizer at Nova, and he's a great guy. He was on a podcast, I think it was our second year. I think he came to our second Bokur Brawl. He hasn't been able to come back since. He was on a podcast and he said, best organized event I've ever been to. And I was like, wow, for John Leclerc to say that, about the Brawl, we must really have, fired on all cylinders that year.
Yeah, that's probably one of the greatest compliments you can get, right?
Yeah, from a guy who knows, right? And then, just when the players are talking about their events, hey, what are you planning for this year? Oh, well, of course, there's the Bokur Brawl. Like, I love it. Like, if I'm I'm usually listening to podcasts while driving in my car to work, and I'm beeping the horn and hitting the wheel and, acting all crazy because I just love it.
Well, if I can recommend Warjacks episode 40, I think that one will make you happy.
Got it. So, so those are my favorite stories of organizing the Brawl.
We wanted to ask you, organizing the Brawl, it's not like organizing a steamroller. Like, what is the most difficult thing about that?
That's a tough question because any given year you could have different challenges, right? This year, the most difficult thing was ensuring that everybody was vaccinated.
Oh man, I remember the conversation you had to have with people on the side.
I lost a friend because of this.
We lost a teammate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
So, for those who don't know, Erica had to jump in because one of the teams had a person who just refused to vaccinate, so they weren't comfortable with it, so they couldn't play. It was after list lock, so Erica had to play someone else's list, and you did a great job. Everyone had a lot of fun playing against you.
Thanks. Yeah, I actually had a good time. One thing the Army has taught me is I don't get crazy over situations I don't have any control over. I just try to have a good
That's
time.
right.
You know what I mean? And fortunately, like in was it episode 4 of Tried and True, I talked about my first match was into Rusty out of Colorado. That guy plays nationally. Grimkin. I had so much fun, man. I might have lost most of my games that weekend, but I had a really good time.
And that's what counts. That's what's most important.
Yeah.
I guess the last thing we wanted to ask you is
This is an important question.
This is relevant to us.
The big one.
What advice would you give to other people looking to host an event like this, or at least to work up to the scale to an event like this?
Well, I think we've said it repeatedly through the broadcast, right? I mean, you got to do it from the player's perspective, from the moment they walk in the store to where they're putting down their bag. Are you organized? Are you ready to go? Do you know how to run on time? Are people getting anything for their trouble? Do you have a plan for lunch/dinner? There was a controversy at Captain Con a couple years ago where
I want to hear the tea.
if the round timer goes off and 2 players are still playing and they have more than 5 minutes combined on their clock, the steamroller rules say those people get a double loss. So that event had to run on time, right? And lots of people were getting double losses because their clock said 5:32 or 6:04, and the thinking behind that is if you're pausing your clock without the judge knowing, that's the only reason why your time should be that high past the round timer.
So when you're talking about a round clock, is there like an overall event clock that trumps all other clocks?
Yes, so if you read through the steamroller document, it talks about running a round timer. So round 1 is 2 hours, and after you pair everybody up and get them to their tables, and you see that everyone's at their table and they're unloading their armies. Okay, guys, starting the round timer now, and usually I do 2:15. Give people time to get moving.
Yeah, so you're talking about as you're getting ready to deploy your army, then your round clock's going.
I know that was an issue with us because when we did the team event, I think they wanted the team event to take place. I don't think we got started until like half an hour into the round.
And if you have time and people are playing honestly, then it's really not an issue. But you have the overall round timer because everyone has to be playing the same game. You can't have a pair of special snowflakes deciding to stop their clocks and run and use the bathroom or get lunch or do whatever it is, or stop and just
or grab a beer.
Yeah, or discuss a rule or whatever it is that they want to do. That's not the game, right? Everyone has to be playing the same game. So at Captain Con, I was just a floor judge. I was not head judge for that event. The head judge was double lossing people a lot, and it was becoming a real issue. So there's a balance, right? The reason that so many people were getting double losses was the hall was packed so tightly, people couldn't get to their tables in time. So they were starting the next round timer, and people are still trying to find their opponent. They're still waiting for a row to clear so they could walk in and put their army down.
Yeah, and that's a weird line to have to walk, because at what point, like, do you penalize the players for that, or is that like the organizer / venue at fault?
That is the event owner's issue, right? That you as a tournament organizer, or in my case a floor judge,
right,
had to work through. So you have to think about that. What am I going to do with my round timer? How one of the things that we've recently started doing, and I like a whole lot, we did it at Captain Con, is we said, hey, guess what? At the end of each turn, you're going to pause your clock all on your own. You don't have to call us, and you're going to do the scoring, and then you're going to keep going. And yeah, that created a gray area a couple of times. And I would say to people, look, if you're calculating score, then that clock is paused. If you're discussing your strategy or talking about what you want to do once the clock starts, start the clock, because now you're playing the game, right? And we had no problems, and people were much happier to not feel rushed or panicked, because the scoring is important.
Yeah, especially towards the end of the game, where it's like, you're under 5 minutes and you're just hitting the clock back and forth, doing, what you can to not clock yourself. So, no, I think that was smart.
Yeah, I was going to say, we adopted that at our store, and we make it a point to do that, and it really does change the, the intensity of the game. Like, the game's still intense.
I would agree with that.
And the game it's a game. It's supposed to be fun. That's why we're there, right? So these are the things that you should be thinking about and looking at when your events are getting bigger, you're doing your own thing. It's the player experience. How are they getting access to their scenario elements to set up the next scenario? How are you keeping track of the winners and the losers, etc.? There's a lot of software out there that you can use. If an event is bigger than 32 people, I use software. If it's smaller than 32 people, I do it by hand. Because again, I am old and it's just easier for me. Yeah, so you got to think about all those little details, and your events will run just fine. And don't be afraid to get feedback from your players.
Thank you for that. Thank you for the advice and that insight.
Sure.
This is like a study power hour for us, so just absorbing everything.
Well, and it's not like you guys don't know how to reach me, so feel free to reach out anytime and ask.
Thank you.
Seth, that was so much useful and great information for us moving forward with the events that we want to go ahead and make. And we really want to appreciate you taking the time. We know that you're a teacher. I'm pretty sure you're on spring break, so thanks for spending your spring break here with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for your appreciation of what we do.
Yeah, thanks again, Seth. Can't thank you enough. You're such a cool dude, sharing all this great knowledge and running an awesome event. So on behalf of everyone on Tried and True, thanks for coming on this special Sethisode.
It was my pleasure. You guys have brought such an energy and enthusiasm to Delaware Warmachine, and we just love having you in the area. And so keep doing what you're doing, guys. You're so impressive.
I guess with that being done, on the next episode, I think the Bokur Brawl is a good vision of where we want to be. Let's go talk to somebody who works on doing a one-day event to maybe help us out in designing this Susquehanna Scuffle.
Ooh, we got more special guests.
From all of us on Tried and True, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.